Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're tackling a super important topic, the top 5 threats that can wipe out your entire honeybee colony, and most importantly, what you can do to stop them. If you've ever worried about your bees making it through the season, this video is for you. We're going to dive deep into the biggest hive killers, from tiny terrors to invisible poisons, and give you practical, actionable steps to protect your precious pollinators. The survival of your hive could depend on what you learn today, so let us get right into it and arm you with the knowledge you need to be a successful beekeeper. First on our list, and it's a huge one, is pesticide exposure. This is probably the most common and devastating killer that beekeepers face. Your bees can fly up to 3 miles from the hive in search of nectar and pollen. That's a huge area, and you have no control over what your neighbors are spraying on their lawns or what farmers are using on their crops. Even products labeled organic or safe can be harmful to bees. Neonicotinoids, for example, are systemic pesticides. This means the plant absorbs the poison, and it gets expressed in the pollen and nectar. When your bees bring that back to the hive, it doesn't just kill the foraging bee, it slowly poisons the entire colony, affects the queen's laying ability, and weakens the brood. So, how do we fight this invisible enemy? The first step is education and communication. Talk to your neighbors. Let them know you have bees. A friendly conversation can go a long way. Explain that spraying during the day when bees are active is the most dangerous. Suggest they spray in the late evening or on a calm, windless day to minimize drift. Share information about bee-safe alternatives. Many people just don't know the impact their actions have. You can also put up bees in area signs. Another strategy is to create a pollen oasis on your own property. Plant a wide variety of flowers that bloom from early spring to late fall. This encourages your bees to forage closer to home, reducing their exposure to unknown chemicals. Think clover, lavender, sunflowers, borage, and anything you know is clean and safe. This gives them a safe buffet right in your backyard. Also, look out for signs of pesticide poisoning. A classic sign is a large pile of dead bees right at the entrance of the hive. You might see bees twitching, unable to fly, or with their tongues sticking out. If you suspect a pesticide kill, you can send a sample of the dead bees for testing, but that can be expensive. The best defense is a good offense, proactive communication, and creating a safe foraging zone. It's a tough battle, but one we have to fight. Alright, moving on to the second biggest killer, and this is the one that keeps beekeepers up at night, the Varroa destructor mite. That's its actual name, and it's no exaggeration. These tiny reddish-brown parasites are the #1 enemy for honeybees worldwide. They're like little vampires. They attach to both adult bees and developing brood, feeding on their fat bodies. This weakens the bee, shortens its lifespan, and, worst of all, transmits a whole host of deadly viruses. A small Varroa infestation can quickly spiral out of control and cause a colony to collapse, especially over the winter when the bee population naturally declines. If you don't have a Varroa management plan, you're not really beekeeping, you're just watching your bees slowly die. So, how do we stop these destroyers? First, you need to monitor your mite levels. You can't fight what you can't see. The most common methods are the alcohol wash and the powdered sugar roll. An alcohol wash is more accurate but sacrifices about 300 bees. A sugar roll is less accurate but doesn't kill the bees. Both involve shaking mites off a sample of bees to count them. You should be testing regularly, at least in the spring and late summer, to know your mite load. A good threshold is to treat if you have more than 2 or 3 mites per 100 bees. Once you know you need to treat, what are your options? There are hard chemical treatments like Apiary, which uses amitraz, and there are soft or organic treatments like formic acid, oxalic acid, and thymol-based products. For example, formic acid is effective because it can penetrate the wax cappings and kill mites on the brood. Here, I'm using Formic Pro. You place these pads on top of the frames. The vapor fills the hive and kills the mites. Another popular option, especially for winter cleanup when there's no brood, is an oxalic acid vaporization or dribble. The key is to rotate your treatments. If you use the same chemical over and over, the mites can develop resistance, just like bacteria with antibiotics. So, have a plan, monitor your levels, and treat accordingly. Don't wait until it's too late. The third hive killer is poor nutrition. Just like us, bees need a balanced diet to be healthy and strong. Their diet consists of nectar for carbohydrates and energy, and pollen for protein, vitamins, and minerals. A lack of either, or a lack of variety, can seriously weaken a colony, making them more susceptible to diseases and parasites like Varroa. In many areas, especially agricultural monocultures or urban landscapes, there can be a nectar dearth, a period where nothing is blooming. During these times, the colony's food stores can dwindle rapidly. A starving colony can't raise new brood, can't regulate its temperature, and will eventually perish. So, the solution here is twofold. First, as we mentioned with pesticides, plant a diverse, continuous bloom of bee-friendly flowers. This is the absolute best thing you can do. But sometimes, nature doesn't provide, and you have to step in. This is where supplemental feeding comes in. If your bees are light on stores, you need to feed them. The standard is a 1:1 sugar to water syrup in the spring to stimulate brood rearing and a 2:1 sugar to water syrup in the fall to help them build up winter stores. You can use various types of feeders, like an entrance feeder, a frame feeder, or a top feeder. For protein, if you see a pollen dearth, you can provide pollen patties. These are supplements you place inside the hive. But remember, this is a supplement, not a replacement for natural forage. A well-fed bee is a healthy bee, capable of fighting off anything that comes its way. Next up, number 4 is moisture and poor ventilation. This is a silent killer, especially during the winter. When bees consume honey, they metabolize it, and the byproduct is heat, carbon dioxide, and water vapor. In a cold hive, this warm, moist air rises. If it hits a cold inner cover, it condenses into water droplets and drips back down onto the cluster of bees. Wet bees are dead bees. A wet, cold bee cannot survive. Mold and mildew can also grow in a damp hive, spoiling honey stores and creating an unhealthy environment. You might think sealing up the hive tight for winter is the best way to keep them warm, but you'd actually be creating a death trap. The solution is ventilation, ventilation, ventilation. You need to allow that moist air to escape. A simple way to do this is to create a small upper entrance. You can just drill a small hole in your top box or use a notched inner cover. This allows the warm, moist air to vent out. Some beekeepers also use a quilt box. This is a shallow box placed on top of the hive, filled with wood shavings. The shavings absorb the moisture from the colony and keep it from condensing, while also providing a layer of insulation. You want your hive to be insulated, not airtight. Keeping your bees dry is just as important as keeping them fed during the winter months. So check your hive for proper airflow and make sure they have a way to breathe. Finally, our 5th major hive killer is a weak or failing queen. The queen is the heart and soul of the colony. She is the only one who lays all the eggs, and her pheromones are what hold the colony together and give it its unique identity. If your queen is old, poorly mated, or gets sick, her egg-laying rate will decline. The colony's population will dwindle, and they won't be able to forage effectively, defend the hive, or survive the winter. A hive with a failing queen is often calm but listless. You'll see a spotty brood pattern with lots of empty cells where there should be eggs or larvae. Eventually, the hive becomes what we call queenless, and without intervention, it is doomed. So, what's the fix? First, you have to learn to recognize the signs of a failing queen. During your regular hive inspections, always check the brood pattern. Is it solid and compact, like a good brick wall? Or is it scattered and spotty? Are you seeing eggs? If you haven't seen eggs or young larvae for a couple of weeks, you have a problem. If you determine your queen is failing, the best course of action is to requeen the colony. This means you have to find and remove the old queen and introduce a new, mated queen. You can buy queens from a reputable breeder. Introducing a new queen has to be done carefully, usually using a small cage that allows the bees to get used to her scent before releasing her. It can feel a bit brutal, but you're saving the entire colony. A strong queen means a strong hive. So there you have it, the 5 biggest threats to your bees and how to stop them: pesticides, Varroa mites, poor nutrition, moisture, and a failing queen. It might seem like a lot, but with regular inspections and a proactive management plan, you can give your bees the fighting chance they deserve. Beekeeping is all about being observant and intervening when necessary. For a more detailed look at Varroa treatments and feeding strategies, check out the other videos on my channel. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this helps you become a more confident and successful beekeeper. If you found this video valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with any other bee lovers you know. Every little bit helps us help the bees. Happy beekeeping, and we'll see you in the next video.